All right, let's talk about a modern-day superpower. I'm talking about the ability to actually focus. In a world that is practically designed from the ground up to distract you, we're going to dig into Cal Newport's fantastic book, Deep Work, to figure out how we can reclaim our attention and, get some extraordinary things done.
You know the feeling, right? Your day is just this blur of pings, notifications, meetings, a million emails. By the end of the day, you're totally wiped out. But when you try to think back on it, what did you actually accomplish? It's this weird paradox of our working lives. We're more connected than ever, but it often just leads to a feeling of being busy, not being productive. So, check out this number, over $1 million. That's what one company, Atlantic Media, figured out it was spending every single year just for its people to process email. $1 million! That's the real, tangible cost of all that constant back and forth that we so often mistake for real work. And that right there brings us to what Cal Newport calls the busy work illusion. It's this idea that we're naturally drawn to tasks that look like work, like getting to inbox zero because they're visible, they're easy. But it's all just an illusion of productivity, and it's masking a much, much bigger problem. He has a name for this. It's the principle of least resistance. Basically, when we don't have a clear way to measure what's valuable and what's not, our brains just naturally drift towards the easiest thing to do in the moment. I mean, it's way less mentally taxing to fire off a quick reply to a message than it is to start that huge, complex project that's been sitting on your desk. So we stay busy, but we stay in the shallow end of the pool. But here's the thing. This isn't just a personal problem or a failure of willpower. It actually reflects this massive shift happening in our economy. We're in a new economic reality where the ability to resist that temptation of busy work is becoming unbelievably valuable. And this new reality, it really demands that we understand the difference between two types of effort. On one side, you've got shallow work. This is the stuff we do while we're distracted. It doesn't take a lot of brain power. It's easy for someone else to do, and honestly, it's being automated away. But on the other side, you have deep work. This is where the magic happens. Intense, focused, distraction-free concentration that pushes your brain to its limits. This is how you create brand new, massive value. So who's actually set to win in this new economy? Well, economists have pointed to three groups. First, you've got the people who have access to capital, the owners. But the other two, well, they're accessible to the rest of us through skill. They are the people who can work creatively with AI and intelligent machines, and the people who are just undeniable superstars in what they do. And the path to joining those two groups is what we're really talking about today. So how do you get there? How do you become one of those people? It really boils down to two critical skills. Number one, you have to be able to learn complicated things fast. And number two, you have to be able to apply that learning to produce work at an elite level. We're talking top-tier quality and top-tier speed. And what's the one skill that powers both of those things? You guessed it. It's the capacity for deep work. And all of this leads us right to the central argument of the entire book. It's called the deep work hypothesis. And it's the key idea that really unlocks this whole opportunity we've been building up to. Now, let's be super clear about what deep work actually is. This isn't just working hard or putting in long hours. No, it's a very specific state of mind. It's when you're in a state of intense, zero distraction concentration, focused on one single mentally demanding task. It's in that state that you get better, you create new things, and you produce your absolute best stuff. And here it is, the core of the hypothesis. As our world gets more and more distracted, the ability to truly focus is becoming rarer and rarer. And because of simple supply and demand, that scarcity makes the skill exponentially more valuable. Now, you can see that as a threat, or you can see it for what it is, a massive, massive opportunity for anyone willing to go against the grain and actually cultivate this skill. So why is that uninterrupted focus so powerful? Well, a big part of the answer lies in something called attention residue. Think about it. Even if you just glance at your email for 30 seconds and then go right back to writing a report, a little piece of your brain's attention stays stuck on that email. That's the residue, and it degrades your performance on the report. So, by working in these long, uninterrupted blocks, you minimize that residue, which lets you perform at your absolute peak. Okay, so the theory is solid, right? It makes total sense. But how in the world do we actually do it? How do we put this into practice? Well, this next section is all about making deep work a real actionable part of your life. Newport actually lays out 4 different philosophies, so you can find a style that fits your life. You've got the monastic approach, which is pretty extreme. Think of a novelist who just disappears into a cabin. Then there's bimodal, for people who might dedicate, say, 2 full days a week to deep work and leave the other 3 for everything else. Rhythmic is all about building a daily habit, like writing for 90 minutes every single morning, no exceptions. And finally, journalistic is for people with chaotic schedules who can learn to snatch 30 or 45 minutes of deep focus wherever they can. The key isn't which one you pick, it's that you pick one and you're intentional about it. And within those philosophies, here are a few powerful tactics. First, schedule every minute of your day. It sounds intense, but it gives every moment a purpose. Second, you can make a grand gesture to really commit, like the entrepreneur Peter Shinkman, who literally booked a round-trip flight to Tokyo just so he could write his book on the plane, distraction-free. Third, consider a digital declutter. Quit all the optional tech for 30 days and see what you actually miss. And finally, you have to be ruthless about draining the shallows, just getting rid of all the low-value tasks that chop up your attention. Now, this whole idea isn't just about being more productive or making more money. I think the final and maybe the most important point in the book is that practicing deep work actually leads to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. This quote just perfectly captures that spirit. It's the idea of craftsmanship. A true craftsperson isn't just mindlessly going through the motions. No, they're engaged in this deep, meaningful act of creation. And deep work allows us, as knowledge workers, to bring that exact same sense of purpose to what we do, whether that's writing code, building a business plan, or solving a tough problem. We're not just cutting stones, we're building cathedrals. And at the end of the day, that's the ultimate takeaway here. The science is pretty clear. Our brains construct our view of the world based on what we pay attention to. So by deliberately choosing to focus your attention on things that are challenging and meaningful and deep, you're not just producing better work. You are actively building a richer, more satisfying, and frankly, a life well lived.
So the final question is really for you. In a world that is screaming for your attention, trying to pull you into the shallows, into the trivial, into the fleeting, what are you going to choose to focus on? With your limited time and your precious attention, what will you choose to build? The choice is yours.